Welcome to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit, where we fuel your curiosity with the hottest updates from the world of wheels. Today, we're popping the hood on a story that's sending shockwaves through Detroit and beyond. Ford's dramatic decision to halt key U.S. production lines. What kicked off as a tariff-fueled power play by President Trump has spiraled into a multi-billion-dollar disruption for America's automotive backbone. From jacked-up price tags to factory shutdowns and political finger-pointing, the Motor City is bracing for impact. Buckle up. Here are the critical developments that reveal what Ford's shutdown really means for the future of American auto manufacturing. Trade tensions bring assembly lines to a halt. Ford didn't just tap the brakes, it slammed them. In May 2025, the automaker suspended production at multiple U.S. facilities, including its Chicago assembly plant, which builds staples like the Explorer and Lincoln Aviator. While initially framed as a rescheduling of planned downtime, the truth under the hood was grittier. The shutdown was a direct response to the Trump administration's sweeping 25% tariffs on imported parts and vehicles. These weren't just political ripples, they were operational tsunamis. Essential components, like brake system minerals, became scarce and overpriced. Ford, which builds nearly 80% of its U.S. sales domestically, still depends heavily on imported materials, aluminum, wiring harnesses, and especially EV battery elements. That dependency meant the tariffs hit home hard. The damage? An estimated $4,900 cost bump per U.S.-built vehicle. That ripple became a wave. Production lines froze, layoffs rolled out, and a staggering $1.5 billion profit loss landed in Ford's Q2 ledger. CEO Jim Farley diplomatically called it a fair fight, but beneath the surface, the company was reeling. President Trump's reaction? A cool dismissal. It was bound to happen. For Ford and its workers, the message was brutally simple: adapt fast or risk getting left behind. And as costs soared, so did sticker prices, triggering a whole new wave of pressure. Sticker shock. Tariffs drive prices up and buyers out. With red ink spreading, Ford shifted gears to protect its bottom line, starting with its price tags. The Mustang Mach-E, Maverick, and Bronco Sport, vehicles made in Mexico, saw price jumps of up to $2,000 for models built after May 2nd. While officially spun as a mid-year adjustment, leaked memos pinned the increases directly on tariff backlash. To soften the sting, Ford deployed dealer incentives, employee pricing, and limited-time discounts. But consumers could still feel the heat. In April alone, new car prices surged 2.5%, the sharpest monthly climb in years. Shoppers scrambled to lock in lower prices before inventory dried up. But with production slowed, choices were already thinning out. And it wasn't just Ford. Nissan scrapped U.S. SUV orders made in Mexico. Toyota throttled shipments. Honda nudged prices upward. It was a domino effect, industry-wide. As supply chains stretched and snapped, the consumer took the hit at the dealership. Even Ford's domestic icons weren't immune. Thanks to aluminum tariffs, each F-150 rolled off the line with an added $400 in raw material costs. The industry-wide price tag? Over $41 billion in new expenses, all flowing downstream to the buyer. With affordability eroding and inventories shrinking, the car lot has turned into a pressure cooker. Before we shift gears, take a second to like and subscribe to Piston Pundit. We've got more auto updates, deep dives, and no BS breakdowns coming your way. Now let's look beyond price tags, because the real damage hit America's workers next. Auto jobs stalled, and so are communities. When Ford halted its U.S. production lines, the impact wasn't just on output, it hit entire communities. Cities like Kokomo and Toledo saw layoffs for the first time since the Great Recession. Full shifts disappeared. Local businesses, diners, auto shops, retailers, felt the vacuum almost instantly. Financially, the hit was brutal. Ford's Q1 2025 net income plunged to $473 million from $1.3 billion a year earlier. Its Ford Blue division saw profits nosedive from $901 million to just $96 million, while Model E, the EV arm, posted a staggering $849 million loss. Even with Ford Pro delivering strong commercial revenue, the overall picture was unsustainable. It wasn't just Ford. Stellantis idled plants in Canada and Mexico, erasing 900 U.S. parts jobs. GM shifted Silverado production stateside, but not without backlash. Union leaders voiced frustration, morale dipped, and trust in management eroded. For every job gained from reshuffling, another disappeared elsewhere. But the shockwaves didn't stop in the U.S. Global retaliation was just getting started. Retaliation strikes and supply chains rewired. The trade war quickly crossed borders, and China's response was swift: a steep 145% tariff on U.S.-built vehicles. Ford halted exports to one of its biggest markets, losing international ground to Korean and European rivals almost overnight. In a workaround, Ford rerouted Mexican-made models through Canada, using bonded carriers to skirt direct U.S. tariffs. While inventive, the detour barely dented the financial losses. CEO Jim Farley underscored the real problem. America's auto supply chain is decades in the making, and rebuilding it locally would take years and billions. Ford appealed for tariff relief, but the Trump administration stood firm. GM pulled its financial outlook, halting share buybacks, and Ford followed suit. Wall Street grew nervous. Piper Sandler slashed its estimates, unsure how much deeper the financial pain might go. As bond markets shook and supplier stocks cratered, one thing became clear. This wasn't a passing disruption. The global auto supply chain, once a finely tuned engine of speed and efficiency, was now misfiring under geopolitical strain. So how is Ford adapting under pressure? Let's take a closer look at their survival strategy. Ford's tightrope walk: efficiency versus survival. Despite the headwinds, Ford isn't stalling without a fight. The company has poured over $50 billion into U.S. manufacturing since 2020 and still leads the Big Three in domestic vehicle assembly by over 300,000 units. But navigating tariffs without sacrificing quality or innovation? That's the true test now. Cost-cutting is full throttle. Ford is targeting a $1 billion trim in fixed expenses this year. Its domestic edge should be a winning hand, but only if its supplier networks can hold steady. And that's a big if. There's at least one bright light on the dash: Ford Pro. This commercial vehicle and software division pulled in $15.2 billion in Q1 2025 alone, dominating 40% of the commercial fleet software market. That's solid ground in an otherwise shaky landscape. But the EV roadmap? Still under construction. Delays at Blue Oval City and ballooning input costs have put the brakes on key electrification goals. And as some automakers back away from aggressive EV targets, Ford is stuck trying to straddle the present and the future. Jim Farley admits the road ahead is uncertain. Ford has the muscle and the market share, but will that be enough in a world where politics may outpace engineering? That brings us to the final stretch. What's Ford's future in this high-stakes auto war? Final lap. Can Ford survive the trade war? Ford isn't crashing, but it's definitely swerving through one of the toughest corners in its modern era. Tariffs have triggered factory shutdowns, export freezes, price hikes, and billions in losses, rattling both Wall Street and workers across the U.S. Yet Ford still shows grit under pressure. It's the most domestically rooted of the Big Three, with major investments in U.S. manufacturing and a resilient workforce. That foundation gives Ford a fighting chance, but it may not be enough. If global retaliation deepens or policy winds shift again, even Ford's strong U.S. footprint could be tested to the limit. Now it's your turn behind the wheel. Can Ford push through this trade war and come out stronger? Or are we witnessing a long, slow stall? Should automakers prioritize U.S. production, even if it means higher car prices? Is Ford doing enough to evolve globally, or are they lagging behind? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to Piston Pundit, your ultimate pit stop for industry insights and vehicle updates. Thanks for watching. See you next lap. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. there's plenty more to explore.